אל הר קודשי ושימחתי בבית תפילוסי ואבי יוסי אל הר קודשי ושימחתי בבית תפילוסי.
Hello everyone, this is the Flimsy 3 weeks number 12, and I want to speak about the finale today, and that is the end of this period of time, namely Tisha B'av. This particular year, on Saturday night, if nothing changes, we're going to add a kina that we usually don't add. Has the refrain, V'yehi noam nishbat b'motzei Shabbat. That V'yehi noam is not said on Saturday night. Indeed, this is based on the Shulchan Aruch that paskins v'imchal b'motzei Shabbat, if Tisha B'av comes out on Saturday night, and omrim v'yehi noam. Very interesting. Why is there an entire kina devoted to that? After all, when we skip various parts of davening, we usually don't say a kina. If, for example, we skip Tachanun, we don't make a whole prayer about, hey, we skip Tachanun. How come there's a whole kina literally devoted to the fact that we're going to skip a part of davening on Motzei Shabbos, namely the recitation of V'yehi Noam? In order to answer this question, let's see why we skip it. Comes along the Taz in the name of the Pri Megadim and says, simply put, because the passage that we usually say from Tehillim was instituted when they founded the first of the temples, the tabernacle, and since this is the day of the destruction of the temple, it's inappropriate to say it. On the other hand, total other hand, the Ateret Tzvi, Rav Tzvi Eliyahu Katz, it was a Talmud of the Bach, writes, Lifnfi she'ikre moed. Indeed, if a Yom-Tov comes out on Motzei Shabbos, you don't say V'yehi noam. Since Tisha B'av has a status of a moed, a Yom-Tov, you don't say V'yehi noam. Two opposite reasons. According to the Taz, in the negative, it's because of the destruction of the temple. That was. According to the Ateret Tzvi, in the positive, because one day, this day will be a moed. Let's get used to it now. What are they talking about? At the end of the day, we're going to be sitting on the floor on Motzei Shabbos. We're barely going to light lights in the shul, just enough to see the words of Eicha. This is a moed, says the Ateret Tzvi. It seems like the Taz is correct. Well, I believe that the answer is going to be in one pasuk that many of us sing, many of us know. It's a pasuk in Yeshayahu. Sisu with Yerushalayim v'gilu ba'kolo havea. Be happy with Yerushalayim, and all those that love Yerushalayim should rejoice with it. And then it says something strange. Sisu ota masos. Be happy with it. Kol hamitablim alea. All those that mourn for it. Strange. And indeed, the Chasam Sofer on Maseches Baba Basra says, Sisu ata masot kol hamitablim ze kasher. Doesn't make sense. Either you're happy or you're mourning. How can it be the people that are happy, Sisu ata masos, are the people that are mourning? I believe that the answer to this question is in a very famous statement of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak from Berditchev. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak from Berditchev wanted to understand, why is it that we end the keynote with the kina of Eli Tzion ve'areha? Kemo isha b'tzireha. Namely, cry for Zion like a woman cries when she's in labor. Why is that particular analogy used? Says Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, Ki ha'isha b'sha'ah shekorat liledet yesh tatzar. Birth is very painful. But באמת אחר כך שתלד יש לה שמחה גדולה. But afterwards she has a great joy because now she has a hopefully healthy baby that she's holding in her hands. וכן באמת ציון. אפילו שעכשיו יש לה צער מחורבנה. Even though right now there's no Beit HaMikdash in Jerusalem, hu yodea, the person that's mourning, knows שהצער הוא רק לשעה, that this particular terrible stress is just temporary. אבל אחרי זה, in time, Yibnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'yeter se'et. The city of Jerusalem and the temple will be rebuilt more than ever. In a word, there's no question that we're mourning at this point, but it's not forever. One day, it will be a moed. So perhaps both the Taz and the Ateret Tzvi is right. We don't say V'yehi noam because right now we're mourning. But we also don't say it because one day it will be a Yom-Tov. This particular stress is like a woman in labor. From this labor will come a healthy child, will come a Yom-Tov. From this perspective, this year especially, this comes to fore more than any other year. Because most years at the Seudah Mafseket, you can't eat anything you want. You can't even have 2 cooked pieces of food, not to mention no meat and wine. But this year, that's not the case. The day before Tisha B'av, we are going to be eating more than we did the whole 9 days. Indeed, the Shulchan Aruch paskins, Chal Tisha B'av ve'echad b'Shabbat. If Tisha B'av comes out on Sunday, then on the Shabbos prior, Chel basar v'shotei yain b'Seudah Mafseket, you can even eat meat and drink wine at the final meal. U'me'aleh shulchano afilu kiseudat Shlomo. You can indeed put on your table enough food like Shlomo did when he was in power and had a lot of money and had a lot of food. It's pains of all people, the Munkatcher Rebbe. When there is a regular year, it's very hard to show that you really believe this is going to change for the better. But when the day before Tisha B'av is Shabbos, says the Darkei Chaim V'Shalom, the Munkatcher Rebbe would sit at Shalashudis and sing Zmiros all the way to the end of Shabbos. Bebitachon Gamor Sheniskeh Lebinyan Tzion Uvinyan Beit HaMikdash, with absolute certainty that one day we will be privileged to see the city of Jerusalem rebuilt, as we have been privileged, and finally the temple rebuilt. Omnam Keshechal B'chol Yivshal Harvot Ze'ava Keshechal B'Shabbat Asher Avilut Asur Mariv Aza Bitachon. If indeed it comes out on Shabbos, you can both mourn for what you don't have, as well as show your faith in what you will have. You'll show your faith in what you will have the day before Tisha B'av, and you'll mourn on the day of Tisha B'av. And therefore, says the Munkatcher Rebbe, that's why the Shulchan Aruch says, not just you can eat meat and drink wine, but Ke'uzat Seudat Shlomo. Shlomo comes from David. Who else comes from David? Mashiach. Namely, the meal before Tisha B'av is the Seudat Mashiach. That's the Seudat Mashiach, to believe that Mashiach will come, and ultimately this day will turn into a Moed. So the Shabbos before, we are celebrating that one day it will be a Yom-Tov. On the day of Tisha B'av, if necessary, we will mourn for what we still lack. But the day before, we will celebrate what we will have. Ultimately, this is not only true before Tisha B'av, this is true after Tisha B'av. What is the first thing that we're going to do after Tisha B'av? The first thing we're going to do after Tisha B'av is the first thing we did this year on Sunday night when Pesach was over, or in Chutz La'aretz on Monday night. We'll make Havdalah on a cup of wine, like we do after a Yom-Tov that comes out on a weekday. Literally, we'll come out of Tisha B'av as a Moed. Frankly, it will look like a Yom-Tov. We're going to make Havdalah. So this year, indeed, Sisu Otam Masos Kol Hamitablim Alea. We are going to be happy, all those that mourn for it. We're going to mourn for the temple and everything else on Tisha B'av. But the day before, and even the second after, we will see Tisha B'av as an opportunity, as a day that will change for the better. And on a year like this year, we can indeed do both. Day before, right after, we will see Tisha B'av not as a day of mourning, but as a day of opportunity, a day of yearning, and hopefully seeing these flimsy 3 weeks totally vanish.
Ki